Are you excited? Because I'm excited. Hello everyone. Today we're talking about one of my absolute favorite things because it has made the biggest difference in my TPT journey, and that is long form content. Now if you're like, Becca, I don't know what long form content is. Long form content is long content that is free for people to use and consume and learn from, and typically long form content comes in 3 different areas. You can either do a YouTube video, you can do a blog post, or you can do a podcast. Now there's some other some people do like lives on Facebook or something like that, and I would consider that to also be long form content, especially if you do it consistently. But the idea is that it's longer than a tiny little social media post. So today we're gonna talk about what long form content is, why it's amazing, and how it has changed my TPT store, and it will change yours too after I throw this tennis ball. Now, before we get started, I do want to tell you that I have a YouTube and a blogging like mini email sequence to help you out if you're wanting to start either one of those things. So check the links in the description to grab those. All right, so we're going to talk about a few different ways that long form content is amazing and how it has literally revolutionized my brand. And if you don't believe me, I will post a little picture of my dashboard here, and you can see that in my TPT store, as far as like my traffic ranks, my website is always either number 2 or number 3 for me in terms of how many people are coming to my store from somewhere else. So it's usually Teachers Pay Teachers first, and then either Pinterest or my blog, and they kind of switch back and forth. Recently, I have been very into the UTM code, so that's changed things a little bit because I can track individual blog posts, but it also means that then they're kind of separated instead of it being like all one traffic source. But my blog is still where I get most of my traffic from, and especially most of my traffic that is ready to buy, which is what you want. That is a perfect intro to the first reason why you should be doing long form content, and that is because it brings you traffic. Now, we talked about this in my video that was called 7 Reasons You're Not Making Sales on Teachers Pay Teachers. I will pop the thumbnail right here and leave the link down below. But in there, I talked about how one of the biggest mistakes I see is that people just post their products and leave them and expect to make money. Now, the good thing about TPT is that it is a search engine, so you can get some traffic from TPT. Like I said, it's always the top one in my traffic dashboard. But when you really are ready to make more money, really expand your business, you're gonna wanna have long form content in order to bring you traffic. Most of the traffic to my TPT store comes from my blogs, and a lot comes from my YouTube videos. So it brings you traffic and it brings you an audience. If you don't have an audience, then you have no one to talk to and you have no one to bring it to your TPT store. So having my blog and my YouTube channel has made it so that I'm able to drive people over to my TPT store. It also has made it so that people have kind of sought me out a little bit more. After they'll read a blog post or they watch a YouTube video, then they're much more likely to come find me on Instagram or to join my email list and things like that, where I can continue to keep in touch even if they didn't purchase from me that first time. I now can talk to them and, you know, have conversations with them and market to them and all of those really good things to make sure that we have a continuing relationship. So if you hear people are like, you need to build an audience, and you're like, I don't know how to do that, long form content is the way to go. One of the main reasons why it is so important is because long form content is searchable. So if you go to Google, actually, I'm feeling pretty good about myself today, because today I was lesson planning and I typed into Google, I don't even remember what it was, but it was something related to elementary music, and one of my, I think it was jazz lessons. It was like, I typed in like jazz lessons for elementary music, and one of my articles popped up, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But you can search for it. So people searching on Google, searching on Pinterest, searching on YouTube, because it's a search engine too, can find your YouTube videos and your blog posts. So when they're looking for something, they're able to find you, and that helps them to get part of you. I feel like with social media, you know, you can use hashtags and different things like that, but it's still just not the same search capabilities as you have with a blog or with a YouTube channel. When people are searching, then they find you, and then again, they read your article or they watch your video, and then they're like, oh, hey, let me go buy that, and or let me go find them on social, let me sign up for their email list, let me do all these things so that I can continue to receive value from this person. That is how you build an audience, friends. That is why my YouTube channel has more people on it than my Instagram. And that is why my email lists have more people on them than my Instagram, because I have that traffic coming into blog posts and YouTube videos and just all those things that I've got set up to allow people to come into my world. Number 2 is you can promote your products. Long form content is wonderful for promoting your products, especially if you are someone who's like, I don't want to be salesy. Long form content is the perfect place to sell without being super salesy. You can use your blog posts or your YouTube videos in order to sell your resources in a couple different ways. So number 1, you can outright just say like, here's my product and this is how you use it and that kind of stuff. You can like straight up just walk someone through a resource. Another way to do it would be to give them the lesson showing the resource. So this is something I do a lot. I'll say, hey, here's a lesson for opera and here's this virtual field trip that I've been using, and so I'll kind of talk and I'll reference that multiple times and comment about how it has all the visuals and it has all the different things and here's where you can buy it, but it's like you can do the lesson even without it. And the third way that you can promote your products is by having sort of like roundup posts. So like, here's 3 ways to teach opera and one of them is going to be my virtual field trip that I'm promoting. The reason this is so great is because people are getting value while you are also telling them things that they need in their life. And it makes it so that they're aware that that exists, because if they didn't know that my Carmen virtual field trip exists, then they don't know that they need it in their life, because they don't know it's there. So letting them know that by showing it to them really does help. Now, I will say to do especially the like, this is how you use my resource videos in moderation, because you don't want to just be super salesy, especially on YouTube. But especially things like those roundup posts do really well, because you can do here's 3 things or 5 things and maybe 1 or 2 of them is a product, but the other ones are not products. And so that really helps people to feel like they've gained value as well as maybe potentially decided to buy something from you. Using long form content, you can promote your products and you can talk about your products without being super salesy. It also makes it so that people can see them more in depth. On an Instagram picture, I can, you know, show you a picture or, oh my gosh, a reel. Oh, reels are like 15 seconds. I got stuff to talk about. That's why I'm on YouTube. Trying to explain a resource in 15 seconds is crazy. So I feel like reels are almost like commercials. Like you don't actually know what the thing is, but you can kind of see it and it's kind of cool. However, on YouTube, you can have like a 15-minute video explaining everything, or you can, you know, you can really show it off and just things like that, where it's just not quite possible with things like Twitter or Instagram. I'm probably going to talk about Instagram the most because I use Instagram. Could you please stop sneezing? Apparently not. Number 3 for why long form content is so great is because long form content allows you to teach people. So first of all, if you're a teacher, then kind of your goal is to teach people. But secondly, in relation to your products, you can again teach people about your product or teach them what they need to know before or after their product. So for example, I have a lot of centers resources, which are obviously not doing great at the moment. But when we were in school like normal people, do you remember that? Like being in crowded rooms with no masks on? Like, what is this? But when we were in school like normal people, I had a lot of posts that were about centers, because I knew that if you weren't even doing centers in music, then you weren't gonna buy my product. So by showing you like, here's how I do centers and here's how I manage my centers and all of those things, I can teach people what they need to know in order to use my resource. And they're gonna be a lot more likely to want the resource after that. I will also say that when I say resource, I don't necessarily mean like they have to pay for it, but you could also promote your freebies for your email list, or you could promote your freebies in your TPT shop. All of those things are also really, really valuable. And if it is free, definitely like really, really make a big deal about the fact that it is free, because you know, you should. So you can teach people how to use your resource. You can also teach people what they need to know in order to use their resource. So far we've got that you can build your audience and get traffic from your long form content. You can promote your products. You can teach people about it. Oh, I went out of Okay, actual number 3 is that you can give while you're promoting your resource. So this goes back to especially like the roundup posts or videos. You can sell your resource and promote your resource, but you're also giving at the same time. So especially if you're someone who's like, I don't want to be salesy, that is a really wonderful route to go, because it's a lot less salesy to be like, oh, and then here's another way that you can teach quarter note, or here's another way you can teach fractions, or this is my favorite game to play with my students. And people are able to get value from you and also see your resource. Along with that, when people feel like they have received value from you, they're going to want to help you in some way. So I've even gotten messages from some of you, like before I created my courses, and people were like, I would love to support you in some way, but I don't teach music, so I don't need any of your resources. And I was like, okay, first of all, it's fine. Just hit the like button on my videos. Hit the like button on the video, and that will be payment enough. But that is just an example of people who, you know, want to help. So when you give people value, then they want to in return like your video, or they want to in return come follow you on Instagram, or they want to in return buy your resource, because they're like, oh my gosh, this person has given me so much and they've taught me, and so now I want to help them. It's kind of, I think that's what you call a thank you economy. Like, I give you so much that you want to thank me by then like purchasing my book or something like that, so that it just kind of helps you feel like you're supporting me. I recently did that with one of my favorite YouTubers. She is actually a vlogger, and she has an Etsy shop that's like a t-shirt business, and I bought t-shirts from her. And I'm not really a big t-shirt person, so like I really did it mostly because I love watching her videos and I wanted to support her in some way. So I went and bought some of her stuff, and I am gonna wear it and stuff, but I wouldn't have bought it had it been anybody else's, you know? So it's that like, I have received value and now I want to thank you. And number 5 is that when people need something, they know they can come to you. So what I mean by this is that if they have a question about whatever you're teaching, if you teach, you know, like math, then if they have a math question, then they're gonna come to you to find the answer. That means they're gonna come to your content, they're gonna come to your products, they're gonna come to your inbox and DM you or send you an email and say, hey, how do I do X, Y, and Z? What should I do for this? What should I do for that? They're coming to you because they're viewing you as sort of an expert. Even if you're not an expert, they still see you as an expert because they know they've received value from you in the past. A lot of people say like, it builds your authority, and this is what they mean. It means that people say like, oh, you know what you're talking about because I read this blog post and it was really great and I used some of your stuff and it was really fun, so you must know what you're talking about, so now I can come to you with my questions. Which also means that they'll come to you with your questions, and you can send them a YouTube video, send them a link to your blog post, maybe even send them to a product, send them to a freebie. You know, all of those things can really help. Just in those little micro interactions really make a huge difference, especially when you're new. Now, if you are looking at all this and being like, oh my gosh, that's so great, I'm gonna abandon Instagram and I'm gonna go start a blog, I would say no. In my personal opinion, long form content is the way to go. It makes the biggest deal. It makes the biggest difference. It is a huge contributor to my business, but it still works together with the other aspects of your business. So not right this second, but at some point, what you should be aiming for is to have your products in your store, your long form content supporting your products, your email list supporting your products and your content, and then you should have also a social media so that you can talk to people in the moment. So whether that's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want to do, but they all have kind of different purposes. So Instagram is great to be like, hey, let me really quick let you see this new product I have, as opposed to a blog post where it does take more effort, and so I can't maybe do things like as much in real time. That's kind of the advantage to social media. Also, you can like get linked from people in social media, which is also really helpful because that will also help build your audience. Your email list is still super important, and I will say that the main way I've gotten my email subscribers is from my blog and my YouTube channel. Again, because that's where people see, oh, you have these freebies, oh, you know kind of what you're talking about, let me sign up and get this, and all of those things. So eventually you should have all 4 of those. If you only have 1 right now, that's okay. That's okay, don't stress about it. But that's kind of where you should, like, that should be your vision of the future, is to have all 4 aspects of your business covered. If you only have products right now and you don't have any of the other things, I would suggest picking 1 and kind of adding that in. Once you get that kind of figured out, then you can add something else. So maybe you're doing products and you add Instagram. Once you kind of get those 2 things figured out, then you can add YouTube, or you could do products and YouTube and then add in social media afterwards, whichever, you know, however you want to do it. But that would be what I would suggest. Don't try to take on all of it at the same time, because that's going to be super overwhelming. The other thing is, the other caveat I'm gonna give you today is that if you are super new and you haven't even quite figured out like your products and what you want to make and that kind of stuff, I would not suggest starting long form content. I always tell people to get their 50 products first, and really the reason is so that you know what you're promoting and what you should talk about. You also know how to make products, and it has now gotten easier because the more products you make, the easier it gets. That being said, it's really more of a mindset thing as to whether you feel like you can tackle 2 things at once, or whether you feel like you need to focus on 1 and then add something in later. But I just wanted to throw that out there. If you have like 1 product in your store, don't stress, focus on that, and you can come and do this later. All right, friends, I hope that was helpful. I'm gonna leave links below. I have a YouTube, and then I have like a blogging email sequence that will help you get started with either of those or further either of those. So if you are interested in starting one of those, you can check the links down below in the description, and let me know in the comments if you have a blog or a YouTube channel or both, and how it's going and what your goals are, because I always want to know. And also I want to know who made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Things you could do, like some people do lives, or especially Athena, what are you doing? Do not bark.